Hey guys, so I know this isn't the same as being in class, but I'm going to try to do some videos like this more often to try to explain things. The topic for the next few days is human modification of the environment. In the past, we've talked about human environment interaction, meaning how do humans impact the environment and how does the environment impact us? Some of the big ideas that we're talking about are modifications resulting from when people remove things from the land, air, or water, but also when we add things to it, not just removing things. Examples of adding things would be like if we add pollution from factories or cars. Removing things would be like if we cut trees down from the land or if we take fish from the water. The examples I provided here for you guys are mountaintop removal, which is when we mine for things in the mountains. We actually have to, in a way, destroy the sides of mountains to get to some of these minerals that we want, which is damaging to the mountains themselves. And then also, like I said, overfishing, but then the depletion of the ozone layer is something that we'll probably touch on in the next few days, not necessarily today as much. So, people modifying the environment in a variety of ways and for a variety of reasons. So, when we're adding pollution to the environment, like when we talked about from our automobiles, it might not be our complete intention to be destroying the environment, but we don't have any other way right now as a means of fuel to not damage it in some way. There are people working on other forms of energy, like we discussed in the other unit, like electric cars, or we have wind power, or we have hydropower, which is water power, instead of using coal power plants that pollute the environment. We are looking for clean ways to use energy, clean forms of energy. Modifications often result when people add things to the land, air, or water. So this could even mean something as simple as, let's say we build a building or we build a house. What do we have to do to actually make that happen? Well, let's say you're out in the woods, you're cutting down a bunch of trees and you're building your log cabin. You've just taken up that land where animals were and all the plants were. So all of a sudden, you've just changed that area of land, and maybe you're not polluting, but you are taking up that space. And even when we talk about our school being a place or the city we live in, if you think about it, before that, there was nothing there before that except land. We changed that, we modified that as human beings. So if we look at some vocab terms here, we've got mountaintop removal, which I said before was basically using explosives to remove large areas of the mountaintops to get to minerals or other things underneath that we need. Like the example here was coal, getting coal from that area of land. We've now ruined the mountaintop, and then once we use the coal in the factories, we're now polluting the air. Um, Deforestation, cutting and clearing forests, like we talked about, when you're building a house, you have to clear some trees, and then you probably use that wood to build your cabin. You've already impacted the environment in some way. And also, when we talked about in the other unit with natural disasters, we talked about the forest fires in Brazil and the rainforest, and then the forest fires in Australia. That's deforestation on a mass scale. Now, we don't know how much of it was, or at least I don't know how much of it was caused by humans, but sometimes nature can take its course if it's very dry and there's lightning strikes. Even in California, we've had this where forest fires happen and deforestation happens naturally, but it is also a human modification. People do cut down trees to either build things that they need, products that we have, or to just clear the land for people to live. Let's look at acid rain. This is interesting because when we talk about pollution, and I'll show you guys pictures of this in a minute, when we pollute into the atmosphere, that pollution doesn't necessarily just completely dissipate. It can get into the clouds, it can come back down through the moisture in the rain and just get into every single part of our natural systems and habitats. And I'm going to show you a picture of that. The ozone layer, I'm not going to talk as much about today. That's the protective layer on the earth to keep us safe from the harmful rays of the sun. And there are certain items and products that we've used in the past like aerosols, like those spray cans that you have that have chemicals in them that can actually eat away at the ozone layer and make it less protective for us as people. But let's look at the acid rain cycle. So if you take a look at this picture here,